Hello, and thank you for tuning in to Fed Up, your no BS nutrition podcast. I'm your host, Kayla Marie, certified personal trainer and nutrition specialist, working with clients since 2014. After swimming up diet culture's bullshit stream for so many years, I am fed the absolute up with how miserable it's making people feel when we are supposed to be getting healthier. This podcast is here to help you gain your sanity back so you can stop yo-yoing once and for all and finally learn how to trust yourself so you can enjoy food again without fear or shame while still getting to your health goals. My aim is to teach you how to detect the BS in not just the food and diet industries, but in all realms of life, because I know that, like me, we are all just a little fed up. So without further ado, let's dive into today's episode. Hello, my dear friends and listeners. Thank you so much for tuning in to today's episode. I'm so glad you're here. And if you are new here, first of all, welcome. And I just want to say that this is the No BS podcast where we are getting real and gritty about nutrition, and we're finding ways to show up for your health that's actually sustainable, that you can do forever. So I talk a lot about consistency and not doing the extreme thing or stepping away from the dieting gimmicks that we are bombarded with, and just doing what works, doing the bare minimum of what works, honestly, because that's how you're going to keep this up for the rest of your life, and understanding seasons. So when I say bare minimum, that means like bare minimum, you're doing that most of the year, 300 plus days of the year. And then you have, seasons in your life where you can dedicate a lot more effort, energy, time into leveling up your health or into adding another layer into your fitness routine or into your nutrition routine. But ultimately, what we end up doing is a lot of my clients will jump right into an extreme 180-degree flip of their current lifestyle, and they fall off the tracks, right? So I talk a lot about that in literally every episode, if you've been listening. But today I really want to talk about specifically consistency and why we're having so much trouble with it a lot of times, and then how to actually stay consistent. So I want this to be a very practical episode where I'm not just yelling at you for your all or nothing mindset or telling you to lower the barrier of entry, because all of those things are important. We'll touch on that. But I want to just speak to, okay, I know what to do, but I can never stick to it. Why? Like, I know I should eat my protein. I should do the fiber thing. I should work out, but I do it for a week or two and then it falls apart on the weekend, or as soon as a holiday hits, or as soon as I hit, go out of town, or I hit a wall and I just can't get past the 1 week, 2 week, 1 month, 2 month, and then I end up just completely doing zero again. You're not alone in this. And in this episode, I want to talk about what consistency actually means, what it doesn't, the difference between discipline and discernment in regards to consistency, and why you keep falling off even with the best intentions, even with the best knowledge, the most knowledge in the world. Why the hell cannot we not do the things? And I am also in this boat. I have a lot of nutrition and fitness knowledge, right? I can coach, I can give a lot of information, but the practicality of me actually following my own advice and doing the things is just as hard, I promise. Maybe not as hard with some things than, others, depending on the person. But to eat well all the time is really hard work. And even myself, I have to work with other people or really coach myself the way that I would coach others, because I do the same thing that I'm about to talk about. So let's get into it, shall we? First of all, we've got to start by defining what consistency really means. So a lot of times people actually think consistent means every single day. That's not consistency. That is pressure. That is perfection. And we're not doing that. Consistency means showing up more often than not. That's what we're talking about here. It means eating with intention most of the time. Not every single day, not every single meal. You can skip a day, skip a week, eat out, have a chaotic weekend, and still consider yourself consistent. The problem is, as soon as you have that chaotic weekend, you're like, oh, I knew I wasn't consistent. And then you throw in the towel. You say, screw it, right? We've talked about that all or nothing, right? Just because things weren't perfect, you want to start over. You don't have to start over. We want to get that out of your mind that you have to start over. Whether it's been a day, a week, or a month, this is your life, and we've got 12 months out of the year. So how do we stay consistent? Maybe 10 out of those months? Cumulatively? Cumulatively. I always want to add an extra syllable for that word. Anyway, moving on. Why you keep falling off? Again, if you've listened to any episodes, it is not a willpower problem. I promise you. It is a systems problem. It is a structure problem. You go from 0 to 100 and then back to 0. You get super motivated. You overhaul your grocery list. You track everything. You're trying to be perfect. You're like, I'm going to the gym every single day. I'm walking every single day. Of course, that only lasts a week or two. And then life hits and it all starts over again, right? Like you stop, you start. So, number 2, you're making too many decisions. So, number 1, you're going from 0 to 100. Number 2, you're making too many decisions, especially at once, especially with nutrition, fitness, sleep, like all of the healthy habits that you're trying to do. And even with just nutrition, there are a lot of components. And again, we do not have to be perfect and track every single thing, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But this all takes very high amounts of mental energy. And when you're already stretched thin, when you're already, starting from scratch and you're already second guessing yourself, maybe you don't have a lot of knowledge in this, maybe you've already attempted this before and it doesn't work out, like you already have so much happening in your brain. And that is called decision fatigue. It is very, very real. And with that, you're dealing with what we call ego depletion. And that doesn't mean ego like your self-confidence, but a little bit. But ego depletion is what we refer to when your willpower runs out. So you start the week strong, you start the day strong. By the end of it, you have 0 amount of willpower left. That's why we tend to snack, binge, fall off track like at the end of the week and at the end of the day. And a lot of times then we just say, screw it, I'll start over later. So again, this is so common where people are in this constant cycle and they're unable to stay consistent because really they're only doing things either a quarter of the time or 50% of the time rather than about 80 or 90% of the time. So imagine you want to save $100,000. Are you going to just like, oh yeah, I have $100,000 in the bank. Let me just like put that over into savings. Like, no, you start with $100 a month, $200 a month, right? Whatever you can afford, you put away something every month. But that savings account is never going to grow unless you also learn to budget and live within your means and pay down your credit cards and your interest rates and, not overdraft. Like there are daily things that you also need to consider in order to reach your goal of $100,000. You need small, consistent behaviors that add up over time that changes the way that you are thinking about money, spending money, saving money. You can't just like, oh, here's a lump sum of money that I'm putting into savings. I mean, I guess some people get lump sums of things, but even then you can get a big inheritance or a lump sum money and boom, it's gone. That's what happens with a lot of lottery winners, by the way, or a lot of people who end up, I think they say like generational wealth is gone in like 2 generations typically because people just spend it, right? You have more money, you spend more money. But if you think about your nutrition as like these small daily deposits, it's like, okay, well, some months you have more expenses than others, right? Maybe you weren't able to contribute as much to your savings. But you've lowered your overall spending, you've been living within your means, you're budgeting, and most months you contribute at least something. Or hey, maybe I can't contribute all $500 to my Roth IRA, but I can contribute $250. That's something, right? So a lot of times we end up thinking in multiple areas of our life, if I can't do a lot, I'm not going to do even a little, right? And we want to break that cycle. Whether it's money or nutrition or whatever other behavior that you're trying to accomplish, I know that it's tempting to want to say, well, a little bit isn't going to change anything. I need to put in a lot of effort, make these huge changes because I know that that's what's really going to make the difference. And sure, maybe you have a lot of things to work on, right? Like your fitness, your nutrition, you want to quit this bad habit, quit that bad habit, work on your sleep, work on your stress, you want to start therapy. Like there could be so many different avenues of getting healthier and working on yourself, but it has to come in layers. Otherwise, you're going to be overwhelmed and stressed out with your health plan, which is the opposite of healthy. I used to do this a lot when I was a baby trainer. People would come to me all gung-ho, all motivated. They want this, extensive plan, working out every single day, cardio, this, that, and the other. I'm going to try this class. I'm going to do that. I'm going to, meal prep, and I'm eating 30 grams of protein with every meal and blah, 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 blah. Literally the next week, I'm like, cool, how'd your workouts go? And they're like, I didn't do any of them. I'm like, so you wasted all of our time. I put so much time and unpaid time, mind you, into writing these extensive plans, like nutrition plans, workout plans, reduce your stress, blah, 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 blah. And nobody would do shit. So now I almost have to wait until my client really asks me, hey, I'm doing a workout on my own. I really want to follow something at home. Can you give me a workout for Friday, right? I know that they're probably going to be doing it more after I've been training with them, after a few weeks, after a few months, because again, we're adding on layers. If you are asking for that workout plan, whole consultation, or a whole workout plan during your consultation, red flag, because again, you're not going to follow it. I just know human behavior. I've met maybe one person out of the hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people that I've worked with who has actually walked away from a plan and just followed it without any accountability or ongoing coaching, or again, me understanding as a coach how to meet them where they are. So if they're working out 0 times, I'm not going to give them 7 workouts to do this week. It's just stupid. And even if they do it 7 days this week, are they going to do it 7 days next week and the week after and the week after and the week after? No, as soon as they miss a day, they're like, oh, I'm a failure. I have to start over. That's not what we're doing here. So with that said, I know a lot of times my coaching comes off as a little sometimes too compassionate. I've had people say well, don't you just have to pull up your big girl panties and get to work and just discipline yourself? Listen, I have again worked with hundreds and hundreds of people who no matter what try to white knuckle their way through a 6 a.m. alarm. I'm going to be a morning person to get my workout in. And they just don't do it. They do it sometimes. They do it when they have an appointment. But this is something that they are never going to be consistent at unless they become a morning person or they just figure out a different time to work out, right? And yes, there is, okay, well, I don't want to do it after work either. I'm like, okay, well, you got to find the lesser of two evils, figure out what you're going to do. But don't lie to yourself and say you're going to be getting up at 5, 6 a.m. if you barely like getting up for your 8 a.m., 9 a.m. job. Okay? So I'm just going to say that. And I want you to really hear this. There's a big difference between discipline and discernment. Discipline is doing what you said you would do. That's important. Showing up even when it's not convenient. You're following through to yourself, to others. You're doing things even though they suck. That's important. But discernment is knowing when to push, when to pivot. It's reading the moment. It's asking, not, do I show up? Discipline is showing up. Discernment is asking, how do I show up? Is this a day where I hold myself to the plan and try to max out my squat PRs even though I pulled my back muscle yesterday? No. Maybe showing up is still going, still doing some movement, but you pivot your plan to take care of your back that day. If you only have one speed, 100 miles per hour or 0, you are going to burn out and go in these cycles every single time, and it is exhausting, and you will end up less healthy, more overweight, less strong, right? Because your body doesn't like that. Going up in weight, down in weight, up in muscle mass, down in muscle mass. Oh, look, we're super active and now we haven't done anything for 5 years. Even if you do something once a week, twice a week, I'd rather that be 52 weeks a year than you trying to do 7 days a week for 2 months straight. Just saying. Or 75 days straight. Let's just Throw that out there. So the most consistent people I know is not necessarily the most disciplined. They're the most adaptable. They know when to switch gears. They know how to listen to, okay, I'm going to show up anyway, but I'm listening to what I need to show up with. If I only have 30% to give, 30% is my 100% that day, but I'm showing up anyway. And knowing the days that maybe you do need a little more rest, and knowing the seasons that you know you can push a little bit harder. So let's talk about some real life strategies for being consistent. First of all, let's talk about your meal plan. Everybody wants a meal plan. Give me recipes. Give me recipes. I'm like, you want me to give you a recipe that I don't even know you like all these, like all the ingredients and all the foods. I don't even know if you know what all the food and ingredients are. And then I'm expecting you to go to the grocery store and know how to prepare that food and prepare that meal. Like, who am I? Regardless of if I'm a dietitian or a chef or anything else, like the way that you eat and what you have access to and what you have knowledge to do and ability to do matters. And so I don't like meal plans, but I will work with you on what your meal plan and what your meal list is, because I want you to have 3 to 5 meals for breakfast, lunch, and dinner that you can throw together always with minimal effort and no recipes. You don't need to plan this. You don't need to go and buy all new spices. This can look like Greek yogurt, a little bit of protein powder, some berries, some bananas, oatmeal. You always have eggs and toast and fruit for breakfast. You can have, a chicken, frozen chicken, and rotisserie chicken, or, grilled chicken patties, whatever it may be, some veggies in the freezer, or some canned veggies, some microwavable rice. I always have like instant potatoes too, like the dehydrated potatoes that you just like add boiling water to. Those type of go-to meals, instead of going through the drive-through, instead of just like eating out of the chips bag itself, like have go-to meals that take minimal effort. You don't have to think about it. You don't have to make like a whole big recipe. And I also have meals that I like that are kind of my comfort meal or my safe food, or like when I'm not really feeling like I have a big appetite, I know that I can rely on these meals. I can always eat them. So make that list, what it looks like for you. Again, I can't tell you what that list looks like. I will work with it for you, but look at what you already eat. What do you already do? What do you already grab? It's better to grab a Cliff Bar or a granola bar or something like that, and we can work on which one is quality instead of skipping breakfast because you're hungry and you're late and you're running out the door, and then you just like drive through the Starbucks drive-through and now your breakfast is 1,200 calories. So again, we can kind of figure out these like quick, convenient foods that you don't have to make a lot of effort for. That's important. So number 1, make your go-to easy, convenient meal plan, meal list. Again, it's not recipes, it's just food. When we look at protein, number 2, we'll look at protein. A lot of people think 130 grams of protein a day or 100 grams of protein a day or more, whatever you were like, oh my God, how the hell am I going to meet that? That's a lot. I've had clients be like, do I just have to eat like a giant steak every day? But maybe you just start with one meal, making it 30 grams. So maybe you start with 30 grams of protein at breakfast or 30 grams of protein at lunch. Choose one high protein meal. Don't look at your overall day yet. Okay, we can work on that later. So sometimes I add a protein shake. Sometimes I add, okay, let's make sure that we're eating an extra egg or extra egg whites or some Greek yogurt with your eggs so that you have, again, double protein. So there's ways that we can just look at what you already enjoy eating and add more protein, or again, focus on slowly increasing that amount. So maybe start with 20 grams if you're like really not a protein eater. So it's not about looking at, oh my God, I need to eat this amount of protein every single day. That's insane. It's definitely more about zooming in and looking at what can I add to this meal. And number 3, we're going to pick a theme. This works for some people, it does not work for others. But instead of planning out every single meal, every single bite, some people can have a theme instead of like a plan. So again, they have like Taco Tuesdays. They might have, Weird Wednesdays where they try a new recipe, or they do like a foreign, different culture recipe that they've never had before, or they try an exotic fruit or whatever it may be. And Thursdays, they are eating vegetarian, or no meat Mondays is really common too. Like, there's ways to plan your week so that you're not thinking of a brand new thing every single day. There are also other ways to use this, pick a theme for nutritional habits in general. So instead of tracking everything, right, it's like, okay, this week, my theme is vegetables. I'm going to add vegetables at lunch. I'm going to eat some spinach in my omelet. I'm going to add, an apple for a snack, whatever it may be, right? Like this week, it's plants. This week, it's breakfast. This week, it's protein, right? Like you can kind of choose your different themes week to week, month to month, so that you're not overwhelmed with thinking about all the different micronutrients, macronutrients, the timing of your meals, the quality of your meals. Like this week, I'm working on mindfulness and eating slowly and chewing my food fully. So there are ways to, again, add layers rather than choosing 180 degrees spin around overnight. All right. Number 4, kind of going back into number 1 with that, like your go-to meal list, but I want you to actually lean into convenience and backup meals. So stop trying to make everything from scratch. Stop trying to, again, make like the perfect clean, everything's raw, blah, blah, blah. Like, you can be crunchy if you want, fine, but you're listening to the wrong podcast or the right podcast, depending on how you look at that. But I love pre-made salad kits. I love buying rotisserie chicken, cooked chicken, frozen veggies, things in cans. This stuff makes consistency possible because I can look at my kitchen and I have ingredients. Sorry, be an ingredient home. But that also means the convenience of pre-made foods as well, right? Like you don't have to have just like, oh yeah, I have flour and like stuff to make bread, but you don't have any bread. Like, no, have the bread, have the things that are staples. And if you are younger, or maybe you never learned this, or maybe you're just not very good at it yet, or maybe you just don't have practice, who knows? There are, ways that like you always have milk and eggs and bread, like those type of things, right? And then I just try to make sure that there are also those pre-made convenience foods that, are box dinners that I call them the emergency meals, right? Those are totally fine. They're not cheating. They're tools to be used. Some of them are actually really healthy. And it prevents you from eating out. Like, honestly, let's stop eating out. It's not even that good. Like $12 for a freaking McDonald's meal nowadays. I paid a couple weeks ago, I went to this like new burger spot in town. I wanted to like support a local burger chain. Milkshake, small fry, burger that were like mediocre, $27. $27. And I was like, well, it's too late to walk away from this. I guess I'm paying this much money. But I'm thinking like a family of 3 or 4, like you can't even go get burgers for less than freaking $80. Like just go to Wendy's or make burgers at home, because I bet you they're going to taste a lot better and they're going to be a lot healthier. Not because like it's poison if you buy, drive-through burgers, but they usually are really high in saturated fat, sugar, calories, way more than like a homemade beef, bison, lamb burger, whatever, meat you want, veggie burgers. If you learn how to make stuff at home, there is a labor of love, whether it's convenience and you pulled it out of the freezer or you made it from scratch. So either way, it's okay to lean into those convenient foods. And again, like choose a little half and half. It doesn't have to be all or nothing, right? You don't have to be everything's from scratch or everything's store-bought because I don't know how to cook. Like learn a little bit of both, right? Okay, moving on. Number 5, what happens when your day goes sideways? Where's your plan B? What's your plan B? So when you don't have dinner, what are you going to have? When you didn't plan, when you didn't pull out the meat, when you don't have a recipe, what's in your pantry? When you didn't pack a lunch, where can you go to just get a turkey sandwich and some fruit? When you need a snack, what do you have in your purse? Do you have some trail mix, a protein bar, whatever it may be? I don't know. Have those backup plans for when you don't have a plan. Have those go-to meals out at restaurants. Or I like to always tell people too, like plan to have 1 or 2 meals throughout the week that are off the plan. That's okay, right? 80-20. So it's not about a cheat meal. It's about, oh yeah, I forgot my lunch today. Cool, I'm going to Chipotle. But when you do that every week, you're forgetting your lunch. Every day, you're forgetting your lunch. that's when we run into, again, consistency problems. But having Chipotle once or twice a week is not a big deal. Just want to say. So I'm so sorry if you guys can hear cows going crazy in the background. I'm hoping my noise filter will end up, clearing up that background noise, but I can hear it through my headphones. So if you hear the cows in the back, say hello. The farmer must be feeding or something because they are going crazy. Anywho, so number 6, I want you to track your wins, not your calories, especially at first. So instead of tracking every single nutrient and the numbers, that can get really overwhelming for people. And I don't want you to obsess over what you didn't do or the meals that you had that were off plan or oh, I had some chocolate today. Oh, I had ice cream today. Oh, I overate today. I don't want you to think about all those things. Instead, I want you to celebrate. Did you eat a meal with protein and fiber? Did you drink some water today? Did you eat with intention? Did you slow down? Did you have a vegetable today? Celebrate those little wins because some days you really need to remind yourself, oh, you know what? I had breakfast. That's a win today because I've been skipping it and I've been hungry and I haven't had an appetite. And even though it was a donut and some chocolate milk, it was, some protein and I ate breakfast. That's a win. So then I didn't binge at lunch. I had a normal lunch. I had a sandwich, right? You can kind of walk yourself through reframing those things because oftentimes diet culture and everybody else is telling you, you had a sandwich today? What are you, a kindergartner? And the bread is bad and the cheese is bad and the deli meat is bad. And then they're telling you that I don't know, just all of these things that we think about when we're eating food, we have to reframe it. We have to remind ourselves that it's not going to kill us. And in reality, when you celebrate your wins, when you keep track of the, yay, I did do these things, you are going to build so much more momentum. And your brain, again, wants to remember all the things you didn't do, all the ways you failed. So you have to actively think the opposite and train yourself in that way, which takes time. So won't happen overnight. So wrapping it all up here, the big picture, consistency is not about being perfect every day. It is about showing up most of the time in a way that feels doable for yourself today. It's about building systems and habits and structures and lists, if that helps, that reduce the decision fatigue day to day and week to week so that you can do the bare minimum without having to think about it and it doesn't throw you off. It is about knowing when to push, when to pause, discipline versus discernment. And it's all about making small deposits that are going to add up, right? Learning how to keep your check in balance. Check in balance. Yep, we're going with it. Learning how to balance your checkbook, learning how to build your savings, learning how to live within your means takes time, takes practice, takes intention. Same thing. We are going to start with little tiny deposits, living within our means, figuring out how to eat food that is nutritious and delicious. And again, kind of learning that discernment of allowing yourself some pizza, some Chipotle, some sushi, and some nights out with friends that doesn't completely derail you because you just get back to your plan, right? You just eat normal food the next day, right? It doesn't have to be, I'm on the diet, I'm off the diet. So I hope this episode gave you a little bit of clarity or at least helped give a little bit of relief. Again, I do pride myself on being a compassionate coach, not because I don't think you need more discipline and more willpower and you just need to follow the plan. It's because I know that that's already what you're telling yourself. That's what everybody else is already telling you. You already know you need to do better. I don't need to tell you that. What I need to do is make sure you're not sabotaging it because you're so full of guilt and shame. Okay, we're actually looking at real behavioral change here and real psychology, and change does not happen out of a place of guilt and shame and sabotage and self-hatred. Okay, that's what we're working on. So I want you to come find me on my Instagram at Kayla Marie _fit. And I want you to tell me what is one thing that you are doing this week to do the bare minimum to focus on what is your theme this week, right? What is the thing that you are going to highlight in your life, take accountability for, bring intention and spotlight to without touching anything else. Okay, one thing, only one thing, solo uno. All right, so you are doing better than you think. Keep showing up. I love you all. I will chat at you next week. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Thanks so much for being here, friends. If you enjoyed this episode, please screenshot and tag me over on Instagram or leave a 5-star review wherever you are listening from. Your support means the world to me and only helps me get the no BS news out to more people. If you're interested in working with me in nutrition or personal training, check out my programs and courses on my website at kaylamariefitness.com and on Instagram at kaylamarie_fit. See you next week.